Hey y'all, welcome back. And we're going to continue our year in review series with a look at Capital One. So I have certain feelings about Capital One. They are not my favorite issuer. I have the now Savor Cash Rewards card, and I have a Quicksilver card, the Quicksilver being one of my earliest credit cards. Not my first credit card, not even my second credit card. So it's a credit card I could eventually cancel, except Capital One keeps offering me balance transfers from time to time, and I like not having to open another credit card for balance transfer if I need one. So that is the sole purpose of the Quicksilver at this point. I hardly ever spend on it. I spend enough to keep it open, but nothing significant. So, tangent aside, I decided to reach out to a creator who is more associated with Capital One cards, and I reached out to my friend Josh Giebel to kind of do the year in review looking at Capital One. Now, this year, Capital One has not necessarily had the most eventful year. They haven't launched any new cards. We didn't even get into the Walmart side of things just because really that's just on Walmart at this point after kicking away Synchrony and now kicking away Capital One. At that point, it's on them. So Josh and I talked about the Venture X. We talked about the Savor card. We talked about the Discover acquisition. That's going to be bleeding into next year and kind of like looking at what that might mean going forward, because there could be a really interesting path that Capital One could take if they so choose. But I don't know. So we talk about that. It's a pretty lengthy interview, so we're going to get to that in just a couple seconds here. But I did want to just extend my appreciation to Josh for taking the time, talking to me about it. Capital One is an issuer that I feel if I could use more of their transfer partners, I would have been more willing to go into the Venture X. They don't offer anything really unique. They're one of the only ones with Wyndham. I don't go to Wyndham's. They do choice at 1-to-1. I get choice at 1-to-2 with Wells Fargo. I could get that with Citi. So, there's that. They also have a core at 2-to-1. I haven't been to any Accor property, so I can't tell you that Accor is a property or a hotel chain that I want to go after. And they don't have a big airline to go after as well. They've got some interesting choices. Then that's not to say that you can't get great value. It's just I'm not looking for that level of value at the moment. And, I could probably get something close if I was willing to do significant research and all of that. At the moment, I'm not doing any international travel. I'm mostly doing domestic stuff. So for me, I've got JetBlue, and if I can't do JetBlue, I kind of research from there and see what I can do. But I've also got options for domestic flights through Avianca, through Avios, which that's going to hurt going forward. I'll need a new One World partner at some point. And if I want to go the SkyTeam route, I've got Flying Blue. So we'll see. But Josh and I had a fun conversation. We're going to jump to that now. If you like what I do, hit the like and subscribe button down below. If you want to support me here on YouTube, check out my channel membership. It's the Tidbits Collectors. And check out my pinned comment for other ways to support me outside of YouTube. Also, check out the Stack Your Points podcast. Josh has been a guest on it. It was a really nice live that we had to do. And yeah, we do that on Monday nights. We release the show on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Mondays. Record that with Lonnie from the Call Me Lonnie YouTube channel, RJ from Do You Take Cards, and Tariq from Reeks Rewards as soon as he posts the video. Anyway, thanks so much for your support. Here's the video.
And we are here with Josh Giebel from the Josh Giebel YouTube channel. Josh, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Matt. Thank you for having me here, and excited to talk about Capital One and everything they've done this year.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. When we think of card issuers for the year, like making big changes, I know that we've had like Wells Fargo come out with a big card, or like their first foray into the travel cards. Sorry, I can't speak apparently. We've seen Citi update the Strata Premier into the Strata Premier from the Citi Premier. American Express has taken some cards away. They've made some updates to the gold card, things like that. Capital One has been silent, to say the least. They did make one big announcement with the Discover acquisition, that they've started that process. But if you were to give Capital One a grade for the year, what would you give them and why?
That's a good question. I I want to just default to like, I mean, I guess I'll just say like a B, because they've been average. They haven't done anything super bad, I guess, so to speak. But they also, like you kind of alluded to, they have not really done anything at all to bring them above that. And I think they've done just enough to keep people who are already like into Capital One happy, or as happy as one can be with Capital One cards. And they have not done a whole lot to their flagship card, the Venture X. There's always been like little whispers of, oh, are they going to take away this? Are they going to take away that? But they didn't. So, but they also didn't like do anything to really, I think, make it stand out among the competition other than what it already has. So while other issuers have added and added and added to their flagship lineups, I have not seen that with Capital One. I've seen a lot of promises. So maybe next year, this is all like a grand plan for me to rank them as A next year. But right now, I'd say B.
Okay. No, I can sort of see that. Now, for the year, like with the Venture X, there was the concern earlier in the year where they were going to lose like Hertz President Circle status with it, but they recently came out and said, well, no, it's not going to end at the end of this year. It's actually just going to go on indefinitely.
Yeah.
So like that was a plus. And I can definitely give them a B for like not losing that.
Mhm.
But we've seen things like they haven't opened too many new lounges this year. If I remember correctly, Dulles and Denver opened at the end of last year, or
Yeah.
maybe the very beginning of this year.
Like fall, I think, last year.
Yeah, that sounds correct. And then since then, you've had Chase kind of jump in front of them by way of Etihad lounges at JFK and Dulles. Now, no way have they like truly taken the lead because Philadelphia, Las Vegas, San Diego,
Yep.
and Sky Harbor are still not open.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Capital One landings that are supposed to be opening, but they still haven't yet.
Those landings.
And then the only one that I remember them announcing was like JFK. So like good groundwork, I guess. But
yeah, that frustrates me. I think particularly with the lounges and the landings in particular. They have a pretty large framework of lounges, and I'm just going to call the landings lounges for this example. But they have all these ones that are like they've been working on them for a long time, and if they had opened all these, then they would have put themselves squarely like right in line with Chase, I would say, for the lounges, and like that's like the big thing, of course, and. Yeah, I don't know. The landings in particular have been very frustrating. There's supposed to be one opening at DCA. It was supposed to open at the beginning of Q2 this year. We have now entered Q4. And I actually follow a Reddit thread of people who are flying through DCA, and as of like yesterday, it's still not open. So it's frustrating because DCA is a bit of a lounge desert for my setup, and because I don't have the platinum, so can't get into the Centurion without paying an arm and a leg.
Right.
And even then, if I had the platinum, which that's in the cards for next year, but like there's still like not a very friendly, consumer friendly guest policy because they want to very understandably like control overcrowding and stuff. And this landing concept would be a really great way for. It'd be good for everybody. Even if you don't have a Capital One card, if you have like a Platinum card, there might be less people in that Centurion lounge because of this. It is going to be, it's like an open air lounge, I think is the best way I can describe it. They like smushed a Priority Pass restaurant and a lounge together, and that is the landing. And a lot of people who fly to DCA are in like business or other industries in the District of Columbia, take that as you will, and they're very busy, and I could see a lot of people just kind of skipping that Centurion altogether, getting their high quality Jose Andres food and going to their game. So it's frustrating, I think, for sure.
You need that landing open. You need it open yesterday, it sounds.
Yes, that landing needs to be open 2 months ago.
Or 2 quarters ago, like they promised.
Right. There's that.
The best time was then. The next best time is now.
Exactly.
So in that vein, like again, continuing on like the not saying the Capital One has done nothing, but it does give that feeling. We did recently see a change with Capital One where they discontinued the Savor card back in July. This was the $95 annual fee, like 4 times dining, 4 times entertainment, 3 times on grocery. And now they took the no annual fee Savor 1 and have renamed that to Savor, and they put a new elevated welcome offer on it for a 50% return on spend, which is great in concept. And don't get me wrong, 25,000 points of anything is always 25,000 points of something. But do you think that is indicative of anything else that they might be doing this year? Or is that just like, we have the brand name now that we want to give this card, so we just did that?
So I think in this case, it almost seems like the original Savor, the $95 one, was almost a thorn in Capital One's side for a while. I think it was after they slapped an annual fee on it, I would imagine that applications for that card went way down, because I did the math a long time ago. I don't remember it exactly off the top of my head, but you'd have to spend quite a bit on, I think, dining. I guess you could throw grocery in there too, but even then it's quite a bit of spend to make up that fee. And because it's a 3% multiplier, 4%, right, that is. And I don't know, this card was great for anyone who got it before they added that annual fee, who were grandfathered in. I haven't seen confirmation of this, but are they forcibly converting people from that who might be grandfathered into the 4% card, do you think?
So the folks who were 4%, no, I'm going to let my ignorance show here and just say straight out, I don't know if they've gotten any email that states as of, because I've gotten the email as a Savor 1 holder that says Savor 1 is becoming Savor. Like, I'm not affected by the grandfathered portion of things.
Yeah.
Now I'm not, if anyone who had the original no annual fee 4% Savor that became the annual fee Savor card and is now becoming Savor again, because that's not confusing.
Right.
If anyone who has like the grandfather card, like let me know in the comments, or obviously let us know in the comments if the language that you've gotten in your email about the Savor change again mentions anything about the reward structure changing on the card. Would probably be the easiest way to say that, because I don't think it should. I think it should just like stay a no annual fee, and then like they'll get those added bonuses. But the number of card holders that is, I can't imagine is significantly larger at this point, or like a significant number at this point. I'm sure if you've got 4% dining uncapped and you've got the no annual fee card, you're going to be running some business through it.
Yes, indeed.
Because that is the one thing they never like retroactively went back and like capped business dining spend on it. So that would have been fun. So speaking of kind of like the rest of the year, is there anything else that you think or you would want to see Capital One do by the end of this year?
Well, other than their lounges and landings, I kind of just want them to keep the Venture X specifically how it is, because I live in a state of fear, of constant fear as a authorized user on the Venture X, that they will start charging for that, or limit it to like 1, or like reduce the lounge access that authorized users can get. And that's the whole, for me, that's the whole sticking point of the card. Is it's just $395, but you get free authorized users who in turn get their own lounge access and can get their own guests into these lounges. And that works really well for me and my partner and our friends and whatever. It works great for families. And I could very easily see Capital One either adding on annual fees to the authorized user cards, or just nerfing that access entirely. So I don't want them to do that.
To that end, is there like would there be like a kill fee for you, like a rate at which like the annual fee would not make sense for you to continue either being an authorized user or like your partner keeping the card altogether? Like,
Yeah.
is it 50 is annoying but okay, but if you keep the unlimited guest benefit then you're good? Or like if they went to a more we'll say advantage executive card where that went from, you know, up to 10 free 10 free authorized users to 3 for 175, like would the 175 be a bridge too far, but you can add an additional 2 authorized users as needed? But again, all of the other like features of it, unlimited guests in lounges and stuff like that, still remain the same.
Yeah, honestly, at 175, would it's just for so it's for the first one, and then the next 2 are free, right?
Yeah, so it's 175 for up to 3.
Oh, okay.
In this scenario, it's 175 for up to 3, and then like 175 for each additional one, but nobody's going to pay
Right.
after the first 3.
Yeah. Okay. Honestly, I think that would still be a point where we would have to probably say goodbye, I think, to the card entirely. Or just, well, actually, yeah, get rid of it entirely, because the whole point was to have like a 1-2 player thing going on with that card. Yeah, I don't see how that would be worthwhile, because beyond me, like it's just me who's the authorized user. We don't have anyone else on. It's a nice perk. Like, I have floated the idea to one of my close friends that I would add him as an authorized user, but like a $0 spending limit, just so he could survive in airports without, you know, like help him out a little bit and show sort of be part of my active effort to convert him into this game. But he's hopefully not watching that. Didn't hear that. But so other than that, though, like I don't know. It would be almost, I think, the same as us like forking over whatever the price is. I think it might also be 175 for like a platinum authorized user, I think.
Yeah, that's 195 a pop now.
Oh, okay.
So that changes that math real quick. Yeah.
So even then, though, like at 175, it's especially because I have so many. I'm very lucky to have so many different options when it comes to home base airports and lounges that I would access every single time that I fly. So
no, that's completely fair. I was just curious, like, was there a kill number? And obviously 175 would probably easily be that number, but like 95 or an additional like 49 a year for an authorized user.
Well, I'd go up to 100 probably, just because even because like I guess the next card that I compare it to would be like Sapphire Reserve at 550, and each AU 75, right? It was right there. Okay. So I guess then it makes sense still for us, just because like we would be at 500 between the two of us. Not happy about it, but like let's still keep it, you know.
And if I remember correctly, the Venture X authorized users get global entry as well.
Unfortunately, they do not.
Oh, they do not.
No, well, I thought they did at first, but I was sadly mistaken. So that's the real benefit is just the lounges.
The lounges, got it. Still super useful to have. But we'll move on from Capital One for the remainder of the year, just because basically all you want to say is just do no harm. Just keep doing no harm.
Yeah.
And part of them doing no harm is they're still waiting out, I'm sure, regulatory approval for the Discover deal that was announced earlier this year. Looking forward, so maybe not 25, and not 26, but like 2027 and beyond. One of the big things with the Discover acquisition is access to Discover's payment processing network and the ability to bring all of that in-house. Do you foresee Capital One trying to jump into the American Express sphere by having everything come in-house? And if so, do you think that they're going to try to push themselves higher into the premium market while also doing what Capital One does on day to day in terms of like some primes and their weird underwriting?
Yeah. See, this is where like I actually think that this Discover deal, I was baffled when this first broke, that I was like, this is just going to make them implode. You have two completely different directions that they're going to try to go at the same time. And I guess if they are willing to make this what is at a pretty massive acquisition, if they are willing to like go through all of those hoops and invest so much into it, I think that they are going to turn away from this sort of subprime thing, which is so strange to say about Capital One. But if they are trying to move everything in-house, that means that they're going to, if they change some of their cards to like the Discover payment network or whatever, they lose out on like Visa benefits and MasterCard. I don't know if they have any MasterCards at all, but especially with like the
Savor.
Visa. Oh, Savor, got it. They lose out on whatever benefits come with those, and they'd have to do something, I guess, to address that. And Discover, as far as I know, doesn't really play into that a lot like you would with like something like a Visa Infinite, for sure. Like half of those card benefits come from the Visa Infinite benefits that nobody seems to be able to keep track of because they're always so buried on the internet. But like the Venture X, if they changed it into a Discover payment network, Venture X, which would just, that would be something else. But if they did that, then they would have to go the way of Amex or drop the annual fee. Not entirely, but like lower it, I guess.
Right. So I don't know that they're eventually going to go all in on it. Like they've said that they are going to keep like the Visa, keep their premium cards on the Visa and MasterCard networks for now. Right. Like they're not going to transition everything over, but I can imagine like Quicksilver is going to become a Discover network card. I can imagine like the Savor for Good Credit will be on the Discover network, moved over there. Like, so you get like the Savor type, like the best way I could say it is Savor on training wheels.
Yeah. That'd be crazy if all of the good credit cards went to Discover, just to make it even more complicated.
Yes, because, well, this is true Capital One fashion, it seems. So like those lower tier cards would get moved over to Discover. Maybe the Discover it gets promoted into the I don't know if it would go to the Venture lineup. I don't know if it would go to the Savor lineup, but like or it just gets its own sort of the Capital One. It from Capital One seems weird to say, but like they would take that out of the Discover, but by keeping the network, now they can keep all of the swipe fees for that, and then start using that to subsidize more perks for the Venture X, more perks for Savor or a possible Savor X. And so like they've got that side of the business making money with swipes, maybe also making money with late fees, maybe also making money with interest, because the folks who will be on that side of things are maybe not the best in the credit card game. But they'll be able to have that pool of money that they can then like subsidize into the rest of things. That's sort of what I'm starting to think is going to happen long term with Discover, should this go through. Could that like keep them in the conversation for premium, or would they have to like eventually just go all in and keep even more of that pool and like build up their own like Amex style of benefits to their card, just to like go after Amex, or like, because yeah, it does seem like they either have to go, if they're going to go after Amex, they have to like go all the way, or they have to be willing to be discount and doing whatever. Like the non going after Amex doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, it feels.
Yeah, your theory is a good one. I think definitely like if they like use the Discover side for like their sort of beginner credit card or not so great credit card users, all of that, as we know, all of these mistakes that are made with cards partially subsidize rewards, of course, in combination with swipe fees and everything like that. And then they could turn towards their existing lineup and invest into that. I could see that happening, but also I don't think that we have a lender that really does that. That has two such very distinct ends of their business. And
Yeah.
I just don't see that working out long term for Capital One or any lender because it just hasn't been a consistent thing as far as I know.
Yeah, it's really hard to look. If anyone has shed like the low stake, like beginner card, subprime, like all of the bad that can come with being a subprime lender. Now, being a subprime lender can keep you around for a while. Look at Credit One, look at Luxury Card, look at Mission Lane, all of these card companies, like they survive because they get money somehow.
Yeah.
Most of their stupid fees. But like if anyone broke through, it was Capital One, because now Capital One is in like that top end travel conversation. And they did it without like a premier hotel partner. They did it without a premier airline partner, but like they've become in that top 3 conversation with Chase and American Express. And maybe that's just by default, because when they broke through, Citi was on the decline and Wells Fargo was, on fire. So I guess that kind of like leads into this last question I had for you, which has Capital One done enough to stay premium in the premium conversation? Or are they just really good value and anything in the premium side of things is just a bonus?
Great question. I think that they have done a really good job of marketing themselves as premium. And I think of the Venture X as a premium card because I'm still paying almost $400 every single year to have this card, and I get good value back from it. But they have set it up in such a way where I am more than willing to pay $395 every single year because it's so very, very easy to get all of that back plus $5. I mean, I'm not going to use those horrible words with the positive $5 because I am paying $395. But it's so very simple, and it's a great introduction to the big high-end card sphere of this game that we like to play. It was my first card that was over $95. First card in that sort of realm, and it remains up until February. It remained my only card at that. Of course, I have the Altitude Reserve US Bank, but this card, I think it has so much upfront value that it can stay in. I think it like one informs the other, if that makes sense. Like the value proposition that we get from this card informs the luxury side of things. With that being said, though, it's not a card that will take care of you start to finish. From the second you leave your door to go on a trip to the second you get home from said trip. It will make your life nice and easier for a good portion of the trip, but it doesn't have things like extra bells and whistles like the Platinum will give you like an Uber credit or something. You can pay for part of a Uber ride to the airport or whatever. Or even something with like the Sapphire Reserve. You are out and you want to do a pickup order and use your $15 that you have rolled over twice, $5 twice to get to for a pickup order at a DoorDash participating restaurant or something. Adds a little bit of a reach, I think, but still, like the Venture X doesn't have those things, so it's really, I guess it really depends on who you ask. I still get a lot of very fun experiences at the airport when otherwise the airport would just be awful, somewhere I'd like
Right.
to not be. But now, like with this card, I actually go early because it's enjoyable.
And sidetracking from EAF, or effective annual fee, if you're not aware, I am actually starting to just think of it as net annual fee instead of effective, because net at least gives you that breakdown of like, here's what I paid for the card,
Yeah,
here's the value that I'm getting from the card,
right.
and now I have net positive value because I did X, Y, and Z that the card offers. But your net effective annual fee, your net annual fee, sorry, let's take effective out. Your net annual fee will vary based on the things that you do.
For sure.
So I guess here's as good as any. Like, I'm going to try to start thinking things, or trying to explain things in terms of net annual fee instead of trying to say effective, because effective gives you the idea of like,
right.
Oh yeah, no, I got all this free stuff. Like, no, it's a credit that was available to you, but you still spent the money.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a great way to put it. So Venture X for me, net positive $5 annual fee. Sounds so strange to say that, but it's true. Like $300 in a travel credit. Well, discount code, I guess, before somebody goes and goes after us in the comments for that. It is a discount code, yes, but it is $300 of travel that I have in years past have paid cash for anyway, and that helps.
And you get it back.
Yeah, it comes back to me, and then I get like 10,000 miles that I'm just gonna call $100 because it's easier that way, and those are, that's another $100 that I probably would have used, at least in like terms of like points and miles, like from a different, like an airline or something. If I had like 10,000 miles, like I'd still use those. So it all comes back, I guess.
No, that definitely makes a lot of sense. Well, Josh, any closing thoughts on Capital One for this year, or looking forward to at least next year, besides open your dang landings and lounges?
Open them. I think the parting thoughts, I need to see Capital One step it up next year, because I gave them a B grade this year only because they had so many good things that stayed good, but there was always that like sort of threat they were gonna walk those back, and they didn't really do anything to me as to show me that they were moving those forward instead of backwards. So there was a little bit of a holding pattern this year, and I'd love to see Capital One move forward with Discover next year, but I don't really think that's gonna, we're not gonna see anything really major, I would say. They definitely have their ducks lined up, but will they actually be able to take advantage of all of this? I don't think it's a guarantee, but yeah.
Now, just one final quick follow-up on that. There are as many as 9 trademarks for new credit cards from Capital One. Now, I'm not going to say that they're about to drop 9 credit cards, obviously, but if there were a new credit card that were to come out in the next 12 months, to kind of like usage some of the holding pattern concerns, what sort of card would you be looking for from them? Because we already have a card that does like dining and entertainment. We have a food and entertainment card. We have the everything else card. But is there something they could do to kind of jazz up the duo into, dare I say, a trifecta, or like add extra value somewhere, either for you as a Capital One customer, me, a disgruntled customer who might want to come back? Like, is there a card that you would want to see from them out of these potential 9 that they might be doing?
Well, I think you mentioned it earlier briefly, but something like a Savor X, I think, would be very cool. Obviously, they have the Savor set up to compete with like the Amex Gold or something. But for people who are like, you don't want to shell out $325, totally get it.
Mhm.
But there are people who do, who are still okay with that as long as it's getting them the value return back. And I could see them launching something like that. I would love to see them reactivate an Uber partnership, but that has since, I believe, gone the way of the dinosaur. And if they had activated something like that and really amped it up into a lifestyle card,
Mhm.
but not enough to where it would like be something like the same price as like the Venture X. But if they play into these other things that they have beyond the Uber partnership, I guess, add some credits in, sure. But they have a really good entertainment portal, for example. They have a lot of
Mhm.
under the radar partnerships on that side of the thing that I only discovered because my partner loves going to concerts, and I was like, how can we pay less for this and still do it? And if they had just like brought something more into that, really emphasize like their pre-sales for concerts with like their cards, they could probably do really well with it. Or even just like $100 statement credit to entertainment or something.
Yeah.
I would think that would be really cool. And I'd probably get the card just based on our habits.
The Eras Tour credit.
Taylor Swift card.
Yeah. There you go. All right. Well, Josh, thank you so much. And if folks want to find you on the interwebs, where's the best place for that?
Many thanks, Matt. You all can find me on the Josh Giebel YouTube channel, Josh Giebel's Credit Cards and Travel.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Josh.
Well,